Welcome to Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio. Welcome back to Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio. I am your host, Sherry Ricard. I am a medical professional, author, adversity recovery specialist, and co-founder of Silver Lining Wellness Company. I love sharing my faith and bringing you fascinating guests, Friday Fire messages, thinking outside the box, sharing ideas for business, beauty, and lifestyle abundance, and always committed to keeping it real. Now let's level up and let's dive in. Hello there, how are you? I have an amazing guest today, best-selling author, blogger, and certified confidence and empowerment coach, Alicia Roberts. In 2020, she founded The Confident Lily, a personal development company that equips women all over the world to find their personal power. And I am so honored to have her share with us today. Hello, Alicia. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So, we were just kind of talking about before, it's really good to have a woman of faith on my show because sometimes I feel solo when I do my Friday Fire messages. And I'm thinking, gosh, I hope somebody's listened to me. And I really want somebody to kind of talk back to me while I'm doing my Friday Fires, but they're all just messages with me solo, which I try. I did a lot during the holidays, and then I'm going to try to kind of input them once a month as we go along for 2022. So it's really great for you to come on because you do have experience in writing about this. And I want to dive right into talking about faith over fear, because it's not just a hashtag that we put on social media. But I want to kind of dive into faith over fear and what you write about and what you know about faith over fear. And then we're going to talk about hopelessness, because I'm going to tell you, it is become really bigger than it has in the past because of the pandemic and because of job loss. And, we grieve over different things, and we've lost our jobs, we've lost our businesses, and that means we're losing money, right? So a lot of times people can fall into this funnel of hopelessness. And I think, that being said, I want to dedicate kind of this show to, and I get Terry thinking about it. I didn't even know her, but growing up in the pageant system, it just broke my heart to hear about the news that you would have somebody win such a national title in the America, in the Miss America and even in the Miss USA arena. And in that industry, and 30 years old, gorgeous, have literally everything, every opportunity coming her way. And she chose to kill herself. Let's just say it like it is. She chose to take herself out of this world. How hopeless do you have to feel to jump off of a building and say, I just don't want to be here anymore? Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that and let you take it from there.
And thanks for bringing that up. That is a very tragic situation that happened. But for all of those out there in the world that saw that, I hope that they were able to gain something out of it. As you just mentioned, looking on the outward, she had everything that people would want. She's beautiful. She's won this high award, and, she's in the media, and it just seems like her life is grand. What problem or care could she even have, that people are assuming anyway. Right. But that is the problem with comparison, is that we compare ourselves to the next person and we think, oh, I want to be like her, or I want to be like him. And I feel like I need to do all of these things to get there. And also the problem with social media, we're in the industry where we're inspiring others. We've got a story to tell, and you want to be just like the other person that has maybe reached a certain platform, but you don't know their struggle. You don't know what they've had to do to get to that level. And you don't know the battles that they may be facing internally or behind closed doors. So it's very important not to compare yourselves to others. I always say my journey is my journey. I'm unique. God made me a beautiful and unique person, and I should embrace that. Yes, we all have flaws. We're not perfect, but there's a reason that we are who we are.
Right.
So thank you definitely for bringing that up.
Yeah. So where do we start? I mean, let's talk about hopelessness, because you do
Mm-hmm.
have to be really at the lowest of the low to emotionally, mentally. I don't know, where somebody
Mm-hmm.
goes. I know that after I buried my 17-year-old son in an auto accident, I was at the lowest point of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt like I just didn't want to be here anymore. I never crossed that line of
Mm-hmm.
contemplating how I would not be here anymore, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had that feeling of hopelessness,
Mm-hmm.
that I was not going to be able to go on with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And there were many times and that I did not want to go on with my life, but I never crossed that line of,
Mm-hmm.
let me think of some ways that I could take myself out. I wasn't ever at that point of hopelessness. So
Mm-hmm.
how do we fight that?
First of all, we need to do some self-assessment. So there was a study done by the Dove industry, and they studied teenage girls. And they found that 70% of teenage girls struggled with some sort of insecurity
Mm,
and felt that they weren't confident in various aspects of their lives, whether it be with their body image, social. And so that's dealing with friends and associates, and then also family members, school, etc. So if you think about that, if we are, already developing these insecurities at a very young age, and we don't begin to address that as we grow older, we're still going to have some of those insecurities. I'm sorry,
yeah.
but things will just get worse. They will start to compound. And so we may come
Mm,
to a point where we find all of our situations are just hopeless. There's no way out. We feel that we're at the lowest of lows. There's nothing that we can do. And unfortunately, when we think about it from a spiritual realm, we do have an enemy that wants to keep us in a box
mm,
and keep us continuing to have these thoughts that range in our head about we're inferior, we can't do this, we can't do that, our
mm,
situations are not going to improve. And unfortunately, some of us have really struggled in life. We've come from some pretty horrific past. Maybe you have even had some traumatic events that have happened to us in our childhood, or maybe
mm.
even into adulthood. So you have to begin to heal from each of those wounds. And so that really taking a self-assessment is going to help you to define, where am I deficient? Where am I great at the things that I'm doing? And where can I excel? And from there, being able to say, all is not lost. Being able to really think about even the smallest of things that we are thankful for. And so
Right.
that's just having a spirit of gratitude, because
Mm,
unfortunately things they get dark sometimes, and we just feel like nothing is going right for us.
right.
We're just on this long trek of just disappointments and heartbreaks, one after the other. But it's important to remember even the smallest things. And it could just be waking up and having breath that day, being able to go out and see the sunlight. If we have family and friends around us, being able to embrace them or to be able to talk to them, just the small things,
Mm,
just God's grace every day. Thinking about those things will continue to let us know that there is something for me to be hopeful for. And knowing that God loves you and He has not given us the spirit of fear, that's the biggest thing.
mm,
It definitely says it in the Bible. God has not given us the spirit of fear. So anytime there is doubt, anytime there is confusion that it's arising in your brain and you're feeling like, I can't do this, I can't do that, you should immediately try to cast that out and counter that with a positive thought. And I
mm,
know that may be difficult. That takes some practice.
right.
And so that's where we have mentors, we have spiritual advisors, we have counselors, therapists, life coaches, and just friends and family that we can talk to keep us accountable. Because there will be those times where we get down and it just seems like we can't make it along. But community, making sure that we're not isolating ourselves. All those things are going to help us to move forward.
Right. I love that you said that there is an enemy that is always lurking, right? He comes to kill, steal, and
Absolutely.
destroy. And I
Hmm.
think that if we truly know that, it really helps us fight any challenges, obstacles, hurdles, pains, anything that we're going through. We have to keep that in the back of our mind. We can't forget
Hmm.
about that we can be on an attack from the
Hmm.
enemy at any given time, especially if you're doing the right thing. You
Yes,
know,
that's when it's going to come, even
exactly.
stronger.
And it made me think about the fact that when we started this episode, you had not received your link yet to join the podcast for us to air today from my team member. I thought, oh, well, maybe the enemy doesn't want us to chat, Alicia. And
Uh-huh.
and that's what happens, right? It's just that little simple things tries to
Hmm.
mess up things, through the airways electronically by your phone or whatever.
Hmm.
He can come in any way possible, but he's not stopping us today. We
No,
are
no,
still
not at all.
we're just going to keep going strong. But I like that you said that, because a lot of people want to talk about heaven is real. But they
Hmm.
don't want to talk about hell. They don't want to talk about the devil. They don't want to talk about the
Hmm.
dark side because it's too spooky. It's too
Yes.
evil. And,
Hmm.
I don't want to go there. It's almost like negative topic. Oh, I don't want to go there. But you
Hmm.
have to realize it's there, whether
It
you want it
is.
to be there or not. It's not to scare you. It's just to have you on the alert. Because again, like you said, the fear doesn't come from God. So it's not
No.
about being fearful. It's about being smart and knowing that the devil is lurking. He
Hmm.
usually will come through with people, right? And things that come into your
Absolutely.
past.
Absolutely.
So you have to be super careful with that. And, in talking about that, you have to be careful about who you surround yourself with
Absolutely.
and all of
Yes.
that negative talk, right?
Hmm.
That's around you. How do we keep that out of our lives?
Well, one thing that I do want to mention, you just hit it on the nail. There's a scripture that references that we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and high powers. And so,
Mm,
what that means is that we're not always having a physical fight. For
right.
example, if I was to get into a debate with you, and then turn around and get into a debate with someone else, you would say, oh my gosh, these people are horrible. But you have to think about it on a spiritual level. There is something that is coming to
Mm,
get your spirits down and to keep you in this narrow minded focus where you think that, oh, I'm having a horrible day. So I'm just going to live in that horrible
mm,
day. I'm not going to push myself forward. I'm not going to propel and be the best person that I can be. And that only makes it worse when you're around toxic people.
mm.
I always say hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
So if they're toxic and maybe there's some jealousy, they don't want to see the next person succeed, or they're just not feeling, happy, they've got some insecurities within themselves, chances are those same emotions or feelings are going to display on the outside. And so they want you to feel the same way. Birds of a feather flock together.
Right.
It would be so much more exciting for them to be able to just sit in a circle and just have all these negative conversations and, just these terrible powwows,
Right.
because that's going to make them feel better. But if you
Right.
start speaking light and you start being encouraging and positive, it's going to shake things up with them inside. They're going to start to feel a little uncomfortable. And of
Mm,
course, they don't want to feel uncomfortable.
right.
So if you want to improve, you want to have this positive feeling within, you want to be better than you are yesterday or even today, then you need to surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you to be that positive person, that are going to uplift you, that are going to sow seeds of affirmation into you. That's just what we need. That's what we
Right.
need to be filled with.
I think defining who you are is super important, because the Instagram and the Facebook and all this, that's great to a certain extent, but that's not the real life of most people.
Exactly. Yes.
If you look at some of these really fun pictures, I mean, the photographer is going out and taking all these pictures of all these people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you see. You don't see all
Mm-hmm.
the behind the scenes and all
Oh,
that
no.
crazy stuff, and the thing is, a lot of people will post real stuff on their Instagram stories and just fun stuff, and I think that's
Hmm.
great. And then you look at their feed and it's all just, unicorns, sunshine and roses, and that's not reality.
Not
And
at
it
all.
and until you define who you are and who the real person is, and I think some of us get to a point where I don't really want them to know who the real me is. Well,
Hmm.
then if you can't be true to yourself, you can't be true to someone else. If you can't love yourself, it's going to be hard to love somebody else. So I think you have to truly be real. That's why I call this Real
Hmm.
Girl Talk podcast,
Hmm.
because we are real. We talk about real things. It was so funny. I had somebody on my show and she was talking about don't worry about spilled milk. And I was like, yeah, it's milk. It's not like somebody walked in and, took a dump or peed on your floor. And I made a comment like that. And somebody says, I can't believe you said take a dump and pee on your floor. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
because I am a God driven, Jesus believing, Bible reading person doesn't mean I can't say that, because I,
Exactly.
I am a real
You are who
person.
you are. You're human.
I'm
That's what,
human. That's right.
exactly.
If
And
I
that's what
faked it,
makes
nobody
you
would listen.
so desirable.
Nobody
People
would
want
listen
to
to
be
me.
around you because you're authentic. Yes.
Yeah, sometimes probably to a fault. I mean, sometimes it's kind of like, oh, Sherry, should you have really said that? I really probably should use a filter sometimes, but I don't want to, because I am who I am. And I think God gives me a voice to say what I need to say to reach the
Hmm.
people that we need to reach. So I think defining who you are and being real, not just with the people that live under your roof, but with the people that live outside your home,
Hmm.
be that person, be that real person. I think that's super important as well, and able to define your group. It's going to be
Hmm.
hard to find the right group to surround yourself with if you don't even know who the heck you are,
Yes.
you
Yes, I
know?
agree. And
And so,
as I mentioned, the self-assessment, that
right.
was the part of that step, is defining it, who you are. And then from there, getting around the people that are going to
Mm.
encourage you to be who you are, but encourage you to be better as well, and to help you get through any situation.
Right. To bring value to your life. I think that's super
Hmm.
important. And you said hurt people hurt people. And I want to add and say that I think healed people should be healing people. So
Yes,
whatever
that's awesome.
tragedy that you've gone through, like let's just say you've gone through divorce and you
Hmm.
made it through on the other side. And then you go,
Hmm.
whew, I'm glad that's over. And these are
Hmm.
the top 10 things that I learned during the divorce. Go share it with
Hmm.
somebody that's going through a divorce that needs to hear that.
Absolutely. That is me. That is one reason that I am doing what I'm doing now, because divorce did something to me. It really crushed my spirit,
Yeah.
and I felt hopeless many times. But it was because I was able to get up. And not only was I able to get up and feel empowered, like, okay, I can live this life without, being married. I was able to find my purpose as well. So sometimes you do have to go through some tough situations. I always say you have to go through the test to get the testimony. So why not
Yeah.
share it with others?
That's true. You do have to go through the test to have the testimony. And, I often wonder, sometimes I'll ask God, why my son?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's moms out there that have 6, 7, 8 kids. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I know
Mm-hmm.
that probably some people are going, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. Well, you know, why mine? Why
Yeah.
mine? And I don't know why. So this is something that I can stand before Jesus himself and say, why mine? But
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have to ask that question right now, because what he's using is that test to talk
Mm-hmm.
about my testimony. I love my
Mm-hmm.
Bryant. My Bryant's in my heart forever. He was 17 years old, my middle
Mm-hmm.
child, light of my life. I don't want to say perfect kid, because people
Mm-hmm.
go, there's no kid that's perfect. But to me, he was perfect. He made great grades. He was an athlete. He was beautiful on the inside and out. It was horrible to lose him at 17, tragically in a
Mm-hmm.
car accident. But I
Oh,
have
wow.
used that in my writings. I have used that to speak to other moms and
Mm-hmm.
travel and be able to speak to other people that have not gotten anywhere where I have gotten. So
Mm-hmm.
again, healed people should be healing people, and that's what we
Yes.
do. That's what we should be doing as Christians. That's what we should be doing as God driven and believing people, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what are some of the steps? Let's talk about that. The faith over fear and the
hmm
hopelessness. So let's just have this imaginary person that is feeling the low of the low. Maybe they've
hmm
lost their job, or they think they're going to lose their job or their business. So that's
hmm
attacking them financially. Speak to that person today, Alicia.
Yes. So when we speak about faith over fear, so faith is believing, and there's a strong belief behind that. It is believing that something is going to come to pass, even
Mhm.
though you cannot physically see it at the moment.
Right.
So all the signs may be pointing to the opposite, but it is believing in it's going past hope. Like you actually can physically or you can spiritually see that this thing is coming to pass. That is how strong your faith is. And we already talked about fear, what fear is. Well, fear is not real. It is, and we know it's from the enemy. So if you are particularly going through a situation like what you just mentioned, and you've lost your job, and so now you're wondering, how am I going to provide for my family?
Mm.
My income is diminishing. I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills. Well, first, give it to God. And so you're going to need to have a prayer life. It's important. And one thing I always say is, why pray if you're going to doubt?
Mm.
So if you have any doubt that it's not going to come to pass, then don't even pray about it,
Right.
because basically you don't have the faith to believe that it is going to come to pass.
True.
So first of all, have that time, take that moment to weep, to cry, whatever you need to do, get it out, because you're human and you have these emotions. It's okay to feel afraid. It is okay. But just take that moment to get all of that out and now reprogram your brain and say, okay, I'm fearful at this moment. I don't know how I'm going to make it, but I'm going to give it to God. So that's when you can pray about it. You can journal about it. Just be real with God and let him know, these are the feelings and emotions that I'm having. These are the bills that I have that are piling up. I need a new job. This is the kind of job that I need. So just being very intentional and specific about what your needs are. And from there, that's when the faith begins. But we also say that faith without works is dead. So what that means is that not only do you have to believe that God is going to act on your behalf, that something is going to occur to where you're going to get your needs met. Not only do you have to believe, but you need to do some work as well. You can't just make a request and then boom, it all happens for you. He wants to see that you are passionate about this as well. Not only are you waiting, you're hoping and you're praying, but you're going to put some action into it as well. So, go on that job search. Look online and see what resources may be available. So put some work into it. And once you see some things that you're like, well, this job might be something that I can do, or this resource might be something that we can do in the meantime to just kind of get us over the financial hump. I would pray about that specific thing, because the one thing is you want to be guided. You want to make sure that you are moving in the right steps. And so from there, it's just about believing and being grateful for the things that you have and being grateful for the progress that is being made.
Yeah.
I know I recently had an experience where I was just having a horrible time on a job due to a new manager. And I really wanted to focus on my business. That's in my heart. That's what I want to do full time. But I knew that, I have to pay the bills. I'm a single mother. I have to pay the bills. And I'm having this hard time with this manager. And I just started praying. I said, God, ultimately, my desire. This is what I need for now. But I would also like a job that's flexible, so that I can have more time with my son. I can have more time to work my business. And I just believed, even though things were hard, I kept believing. Not to exaggerate, within 2 weeks, I was just on a job interview and they offered the job to me on the second interview. That has never happened to me in my entire life.
Wow. Wow.
And it provided so much flexibility for me to be able to work on my entrepreneurial efforts. So that's just an example of how when you believe and it's going to come to pass, it can work out.
that's what faith is, right? It's believing the things that are not seen. One thing that came to me when you were talking was, and I like to write, because we're going to
Mm-hmm.
talk about journaling too, but I like to write. Things will pop in my head and I write them down. And you were talking, and what popped in my head was faith is a supernatural activator.
Absolutely. I love
And
that.
so, and it just popped in there. And I say that, God gives me these downloads. But it's true. Faith is the supernatural, because God, it does perform supernatural
Mm-hmm.
miracles, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the creator of the universe. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people talk about how they have to, ask the universe. I don't ask the universe anything. I ask God, because he made the universe. So I'm going above and
Yes.
beyond that.
Yes.
I
The
don't know who
universe
some of
can't do
these
anything
people
for
are
me.
talking about in the universe, but I'm talking to the creator of the universe. And the
Mm-hmm.
creator of the universe is a supernatural miracle blessing maker. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe faith is a supernatural activator. And you
I love
believed
that.
and you had faith in what you were doing. And in a similar situation with me as well. I'm in corporate America. I have been for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasting kind of came to me several years ago, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know if I wanted to do it. And I thought, who's going to listen to me? Well, 3 years later, and hundreds of thousands of downloads, and this is our 100. We're almost at 150 episodes in three
Wow.
years, and I have a podcast that is sponsored by many ad sponsors, and I've had many guests and hundreds of thousands of downloads and listeners
Wow.
per episode. So that being said, it's not to brag, it's to say that God led me here and he
Mm-hmm.
entrusted me with this platform. So I have to use it, right, for the glory of
Mm-hmm.
him. And that may be talking about beauty one day. It may be
Mm-hmm.
talking about business one day. It may be
Mm-hmm.
talking about faith-filled Christianity. It may be I've had all avenues of women on my show, that I'm going to tell you one common denominator in all of these women that I've had on my show, including you, that are achievers and activators, is the common
Mm.
denominator: journaling.
Yes.
Journaling. These women believe in writing things that come to them, these downloads that come to them, and writing their pains. I wrote my pains for
Mm-hmm.
7 years after
Mm-hmm.
Bryant died, before the book ever came out in 2014, my first book.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I truly believe in journaling. And I want to talk about journaling, because you actually, and I have a journal, Create Your Life journal. It's a 30-day devotional lifestyle workbook that I actually wrote during COVID.
Yes. It was
What
the
else are
best
you
time to
supposed to
write.
do?
Yes.
But I want to talk about yours. So tell us about your devotional and journal, Alicia.
Yes. Yes. It is called She Exudes. It is a confidence awakening devotional and journal. So you often hear people say, well, she exudes confidence. Well, what is that confidence? We know as women, there's many times in our life where we can look in the mirror, we don't recognize the person that we see looking back at us. There may be a situation that has just kind of just knocked us off our guard, and our confidence is rocked. Or, maybe we never even had true confidence and self-esteem to begin with. And so we're like, well, what does that look like? So as I wrote this devotional, it was actually during COVID in 2020. At the beginning of 2020, I made this huge leap with just my son and I to move 10 hours away from my hometown. I'm a Midwest girl from Indiana. And I said, you know what? I'm going to live in the Southeast. There's something I had been thinking about forever, but I thought it was going to be three of us. I thought it was going to be myself, my son, and my husband at the time. But that is not how God was going
Wasn't
to work
planned.
out this plan. So I actually moved in January and got a divorce in February.
Wow.
The quarantines, the beginning of all that quarantine mess started in about March. And so I am truly in a new land, scared. Like, Lord, did I make the right choice? What the heck am I doing? I don't have any family or friends around, but I knew in my heart this is something that I've always wanted. An opportunity came out of nowhere for my career, so I knew I would be stable with the income, and I just felt like I needed to get away. I knew that I wanted to help women in some capacity, and I always had a knack for journaling, and I wanted to write But at the time, about 5 or 6 years ago, I had no idea what that would look like. What am I going to write? I feel like I'm still living my life. I don't have this huge testimony.
Right.
Just at that time, I felt that way anyway. And I had the imposter syndrome. I was thinking, who's going to listen to me? What do I have to say? I'm not a professional author, but I just began to write because not only did I feel like this would help me later on in a ministry or a business capacity, but it was therapeutic for me as well.
Yeah.
And so what I found to help is I said, I want to work on building my self-esteem and my confidence back to the way it used to be. And so I started pulling these scriptures out of the Bible. And once I started the research, there were so many scriptures. And I narrowed it down to 25.
Wow.
And so these scriptures tackle a variety of different concerns. So there's one that is entitled Hope for Those Who Have Never Been Loved the Right Way. So there's one that talks about hope for widows, just what to do if you're faced with a adversity, how to keep going, how to never give up on your goals. Sometimes we don't realize that the scriptures are telling you how to be bold and confident and how to have faith and be prosperous. And so what I was able to do is pull all of those scriptures together into this journal. So I feel that many women will be able to identify with many of these devotionals. So not only do we have that, the scripture, but I've also mixed in some practical tools that people can utilize, because we do have people that say, you know what, the traditional Christianity, going to church, that's
Right.
just so old school. I need something that's going to help me in 2022. The Bible is not outdated.
No.
Many of the
I always like to say, I have a t-shirt that says this: the gospel is not canceled.
It is not. I love your sayings, by the way. Yes, it is definitely not canceled. There's so many things, stories that are still applicable in today's world. So I wanted to let people know that. And also there's affirmations on each scripture. And so there's room for you to journal. There's room for a prayer. There's also a personal reflection prompt. And at the end of the devotional, there is a confidence building tool, because ultimately that is my goal, to help to empower women and to build self-esteem and confidence.
Oh, that's beautiful, Alicia. And
Thank you.
if I've said this 1,000 times, and I know my listeners are like, okay, Sherry, we get it. Journaling. I don't have time to journal. Well, if you're having some struggles in your life and you've been trying to work on those and nothing's happening, then the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over
Exactly.
and expecting a different result. And that's a saying. It's not mine. It's just one of my favorite ones. And if you think you don't have time for journaling, what you don't have time for is sadness. You don't have time for depression. You don't have time on poor reflection. You don't have time for false beliefs. So you have to write these things. You have to get them out. And I have told, when I used to counsel clients before, and I don't do that one-on-one anymore, is I would tell them, if you have something that you want to say, it could be to an ex-spouse, it could be to a soon-to-be ex-spouse or ex-friend or whatever, you can write them a letter and then go burn it in your backyard.
Yes,
literally burn it.
I love that.
Because when it's burned and it's nothing but ashes, so is that thought. It'd be nothing but ashes, because God replaces ashes for beauty.
Yes,
right. So I say, create your own ashes and let that be gone, and let something beautiful arise from that. So yeah, that is my saying.
Yes, I love that. And I also write letters to God from time to time. So if I have just a list of goals and things that I'm struggling with, and I just feel that once I get them out of my head and actually get them onto paper, it does something. It's like I'm transferring all of this weight and this burdens, any negative thoughts. I'm transferring that from my mind to the paper. And then I will go as far as putting it in an envelope and sealing it and dating it and tucking it away and hiding it. and then finding it 6 months later and reading it and saying, wow, this has come to pass. This has come to pass. And that feeling of accomplishment is just one that no one can ever take away from you. It's just such a positive feeling.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my vision boards, because when I put something on the vision board and I'm like, before the podcast ever started, I had a microphone. How crazy is that on my vision board? Because the microphone was supposed to be me coming out of my, I guess, my anxiety over doing any kind of video. And a friend of mine, she does, TV personality, lives in Dallas. And she said, Sherry, like, you can talk on stage all day long, but if somebody puts a camera in front of your face, you freak out. Like, why is that on video? I go, I don't know. So she challenged me to get over my anxiety of being on video. And so I started, that's how Real Girl Talk actually started, by the way. It was a Facebook series, I guess, where I did every Wednesday at 7:00, lights, camera, action. And I just talked about real stuff. And I did that for like I committed to doing it 6 weeks. Well, I'm going to tell you, Alicia, trying to do the whole, the lights, camera, action, and the makeup and everything at 7:00 on a Wednesday night every single week. Like, that was way too much for me, because I could do the podcast in my pajama pants if I want to. Yes. But that's how it started. And it did get me over that anxiety. But one of the things that I did is I wrote down all of my anxieties that I had about videos in my journal. And I look back at it now and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Like, I don't even know where that anxiety over video came from, but that's what the microphone was for. It was actually for Facebook. And then within 9 months, the microphone actually, I did not realize it, but I had pulled this microphone image from an iHeartRadio page. So part of the image had the iHeartRadio logo on it, not meaning to do that. And I'm on iHeartRadio. So crazy.
Talk about manifesting.
Oh yeah. I manifested.
You didn't even know it's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I have like $1 million bills on my, so I want to manifest that.
Yes. I want to manifest all of that. Yes. But that is awesome how you were open and receptive. You just walked in the path that God had for you.
You just have to sometimes, right? Because when we talk about faith over fear, that's what it is. I had to put the fear aside of, well, what if nobody listens to me, or what if nobody cares, or what if somebody says that, I look stupid or whatever. Well, if you know me at all, people know that I really don't care what people think about me. I'm glad when people like me, but I don't wrap my internal joy around my outside circumstances. And that includes people that don't like me, because I told somebody the other day on my podcast, I said, if you don't like me, it's just because you don't really know me.
Yeah. I believe that wholeheartedly. Because if you get to know the real me, you might actually really enjoy it. You might
actually like me. I don't know. You might not, but that's okay too.
It's okay. Everyone's not for everyone.
That's right. I'm God's girl. I'm God's girl all day long.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Alicia. And before we go, I want you to tell everybody about, you have a freebie offer for everyone. Yes. So I want you to tell us about that, and also where we can get your devotional journal. And where we can find you on social media.
My website is confidentlily.com. And that is the word confident and then lily, like the flower, Lily. So www.confidentlily.com. And as soon as you go there, you will see a pop-up for the free ebook that you can download. It is called Be Your Best Self, 5 Steps to Gaining Your Personal Power. If you just want to capitalize on the things that you're doing right now, or maybe you feel a little deficient and you want to improve, gaining your personal power, being your best self, this is the perfect time to do it this time of year. So just go there. All you have to do is click on that link. And once you submit the information there, the ebook will go right to your inbox. And there is a challenge associated with that, because I not only want to just give you the information, I want to help you be successful and accountable for it as well. So that is on my website. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at theconfidentlily.com. Again, Lily is spelled Lily. And the She Exudes Devotional, it is available on my website as well, but you can also get it on Amazon. So it is just She Exudes Devotional on Amazon.
Nice. I love that. And I like that you have a section in there you were talking about for widows, because I'm going to get that. I'm going to have that sent to my mom, because my mom is a widow and we lost my dad 3 years ago. And I want to get her in that habit of writing and journaling. She's 80 years old and she has the most beautiful handwriting. Still, like she always has. And I want to get her into that habit. She has my journal, but I want to give her, I want her to see everybody's, because we all have something to give and we all have something to offer. You never can have too many journals. I have an entire box
so
full.
Many. I'm obsessed, especially if they're cute and they've got something unique and different. I'm like, I need that one. I need that one too, because I might work on this.
I know. I am the same way. I'm like, that's got a really pretty cover on it, and then, or somebody will lead you into your writings and everybody has a different thought to be able to do your writing. And we're talking like 5 or 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes every day you can set aside for yourself to help heal you, which in turn is going to also help you be there for somebody else, because healed people should heal people. So
exactly. I love that.
Thank you so much, Alicia. I appreciate you. And I'm definitely going to get your journal. So guys, also in the show notes, I'm going to have a link that's going to go straight to Be Your Best Self. So if you didn't write that down, you're driving in the car, don't worry about it. You can go back later and look at the show notes. I'll have a link there, as well as where to find Alicia on social media. Thank you, girl. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you for tuning in all the way through Real Girl Talk Show. Make sure you subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you happen to have iTunes, would you do me a favor and leave me a review on the show? I know you're going to leave me a 5-star, right? That's the way that I can reach more and more people around the world. Remember, whatever you wish to receive, you have to first give. And I know that you're the kind of person that wants to reach people all over the world and inspire them. You can copy this link and share it with your family and friends. Share it on social media. Remember, people need to be uplifted and inspired more than ever today. Thank you so much for being a part of Real Girl Talk community. And until next time, go after your dreams, create your vision, and truly be the person God intended you to be. Healthy, happy, whole, and full of life. Love you.